Hi guys, this is Creative Cuts, a channel where I build, paint and create things. It's good to be back. I recently moved house, so that's taken up a lot of my time, but I did manage to build something to share with you all. I thought I would make something that every terrain builder would have built at some point, an industrial silo. Days of using a tin can and a bendy straw are behind us. We can set our sights a bit higher. If you're new here, then don't forget to subscribe, and if you like these kind of videos, then feel free to give it a like. So I took a piece of hardboard and cut out a rough shape and sanded the edges a little. I took a XPS foam offcut and a sheet of foam board and set these onto my base. These would provide me with a starting point and give me some foundations to my buildings. I drew out a circle to help me place a chemical vat, which I made from cutting down a plastic container. I had a piece from an old toy truck that I liked the look of, so I notched out where this would go in the foam. I used hot glue here on a low temperature setting to secure this in place, as it wasn't really sticking with PVA. Sometimes certain materials will not like to be stuck with certain types of glue, so if it doesn't work one way, then try a different type of glue. Next, I needed some supports to hold my big vat of chemical waste. I had a few lengths of styrene I-beam kicking around, so I cut these to size and glued them on. Next, I found some cool lengths of plastic pipe from some old loudspeakers. I didn't like the chamfered edges though, so I sanded these back with some coarse sandpaper. I also found these cool little pieces with some nice details. They're actually the spooling inserts for industrial rolls of tissue paper. Sometimes you can find parts in the strangest of places, so keep your eyes open and you never know where you might find your next key item. I glued these onto the top of my speaker ports, and already they were starting to look pretty good. A favourite source of tubes for me is vitamin tubes. Not only do you keep your vitamins up, but you also get a sweet tube when you're done. I cut these to size as needed, but my silos were in need of some kind of platform to sit on, so I took some graphics board and glued this into place. Added some sides to the platform and cut out a space for a piece of plastic plumbing connector. I thought this would make a perfect base for my pipe, and my silos look cool, but I needed a way to cap the ends. I thought about cutting circles of card, but came up with the idea of using some miniature bases as they were about the right size. I glued these on and slowly I began to visualize how I want these to look. One idea informs the next. No real plan, but letting the pieces guide you. Another favorite of mine is this pipe connector toy that I found on eBay. You get a whole bag of it and it gives you loads of piping that you can use to build all kinds of crazy shapes. I cut a hole in the vitamin tube, and with a bit of head scratching and some trimming here and there, I managed to get all my pipe work to fit together. I took my time to make sure everything was straight and the gaps were as neat as possible. I also had saved a couple of spray bottle tops and disassembled these to give me two cool looking downpipes. I needed to join two curved surfaces together, so I carefully cut away the profile of the curved pipe that I wanted to attach it to. Just a little at a time, and lots of test fitting got me to where I needed to be. Next, for some detailing, I had some styrene ladders left over and glued these into place. also had a selection of panels that I'd cast from a previous project, link above if you want to watch that one in full. These are a great alternative to 3D printed parts, and once you have the various moulds and acrylic resin, it works out really cheap to easily replicate lots of fun parts. I connected these various panels with some styrene tubing, trying to imagine what purpose these different panels may serve and therefore what they should be connected to. I also had a little styrene tube with some wire inside of it. These are great for making bends in the pipe, as you can get perfect right angles when heat bending the styrene, but it's not the easiest job to do without the styrene collapsing at the joint, particularly at this scale. So the wire makes it really easy. I also added a few more bits of I-beam for support. Again, cutting away a curved profile with my Dremel for a nice tight fit. And I connected my spray bottle tops with some more tubing as well. I added some PVA to the base and sprinkled some fine sand and small stones for a quick base. Do you ever have moments where you think, that's really cool, but I wish I knew more about it? Well, then I'd like to take a moment to thank today's sponsor who has you covered. Skillshare is an online learning community with thousands of inspiring classes for anyone who loves learning and wants to explore their creativity. Their premium membership gives you unlimited access to a full catalogue of courses they have to offer, covering a really wide range of topics from photography and painting to productivity and marketing, to name but a few. As a creative, we can all sometimes hit a wall, the dreaded creative block. And I found a course on Skillshare that can help. I took the course The Busy Creative, 3 quick and easy drawing exercises to spark creativity by Amandine Thomas. I was pleasantly surprised at how useful this course was, even for a seasoned creative. It brought new ways of thinking about creative block and offered plenty of fun and engaging exercises presented in a clear and digestible way, leaving me feeling inspired and ready for my next project. So head over to Skillshare by clicking the link below, and because they're sponsoring this video today, the first 1,000 people to use the link in my description or my code will get a 1-month free trial of Skillshare, and after that it's very cheap to start your premium membership. Thank you to Skillshare for supporting the channel and sponsoring this video. I then mixed up a bit of milliput and used this to refine any joints that were looking a bit rough. Modelling putty is great for tasks like this as it dries relatively fast and can easily be manipulated by clay shaping tools. Next, I prime my piece of terrain. Now, my usual paint supplier had run out of Monument Hobbies black primer that I normally order, so as an alternative I got some brown black, and this worked out really well in this case, as it gives a really nice dirty looking black and already gives you a little grunge for free. Using my airbrush to apply this made the whole process really easy and fast. Once dry, I started to add some base coats to the different parts. I tried to use colours that would work well together. I used lighter colours on the tanks as these would allow the rust and grime to show up much better. I'm just using regular acrylic miniature paint. My preference is Monument Hobbies and Vallejo for those that are interested, as I know their paint is top quality and rarely lets me down. Next, it was time to add some chemical glue to my vat. Using some tissue and some hot glue, I managed to create a shape that looked like flowing liquid. Next, I gave everything a light spray with some transparent brown ink. This works great because you can build it up and get wonderful gradients with very little effort. I always try to keep a light touch at this point, as it's very easy to get carried away, and I often find that less is more. Having set up a base for my weathering with the ink, I washed over everything with some brown black wash. Homemade, just brown and black ink and some water and a little flow medium. I go pretty heavy here because the main part is water, so when it dries it will be much lighter. I keep some parts heavier than others to get a bit of variation going. Next I mixed up some epoxy resin I got cheap on Amazon, just a 1:1 ratio, and then I add some fluoro green and yellow to make my chemical. This type of paint was definitely not designed to be used with resin, but because they were so wrong, it gave me a really cool effect where the paint wouldn't fully mix, leaving me with strange blobs of colour. Perfect. I poured this in and then used some more concentrated paint to add even more colour to the entry point. I let this dry and then wanted to add a few more small details. I had a sheet of transfers left over from a model jet I never built, and some of the little bits of writing and symbols are a great way to make something very realistic because of the tiny scale. I soak these in water and then carefully slide the transfer onto my model using a soft wetted brush. To add a bit more detail, I added a few barrels of chemical waste dotted here and there. I then use a mix of the same fluoro paint with some gloss varnish to add a little spillage to the barrels. A small detail that has a great effect in my opinion. Then it was time to add my favourite rust product. This is Rust by Dirty Down. I've been using this stuff for ages and I'm always super happy with the result. It's really easy to use, just dip an old brush into a little bit of the solution and lightly dab it onto where you want the rust to be. Then, as if by magic, it dries very fast to create a very realistic rust effect. It's amazing to watch. Who would have thought watching paint dry could be so fun? My only tip when using this product is that I have found in cooler temperatures the product doesn't really react so well, so I found that heating the area where you want to apply it with a hairdryer works really well and gives you the correct effect. And all that was left to do was to give the base of my model a light dry brush and pick out some rocks, and I'm calling that good. A simple piece of terrain, but if you have a little set of a few of these mixed in with some scattered terrain, they will really transform your tabletop battlefield into an immersive experience that only makes the whole thing more fun. And the best thing about this is it was basically free. Sure, I had some offcuts and spares and paint from previous projects, but the main parts from this build were all things that I found in my daily life and decided to save them to create something new. Let me know in the comments below if there is any particular type of terrain piece that you would like to see me build. And if you have enjoyed this video, then don't forget to give it a like and If you'd like to see more videos like this in the future, then you can subscribe to stay up to date with all the latest videos. Using your imagination is key. Seeing the world around you in a miniature scale gives you a wealth of treasures that we would normally throw in the recycling bin. In the words of the philosopher Confucius, everything has beauty, but not everyone sees it. Thank you for watching, and enjoy.